Here's your rewritten USA-style voiceover script. I corrected the flow, removed repetitive lines, made it sound more natural and cinematic, and rewrote parts so it feels original instead of copied, while keeping the full meaning and long-form storytelling style intact. At 25 years old, $500 feels like a serious amount of money to give away every month, not because you're bad with money, because life already has plans for it. Rent is coming, the car needs maintenance. A wedding invitation turns into 3 different events you're expected to attend. Groceries keep getting more expensive, and before your paycheck even arrives, most of it already feels mentally spent. That's how most people live. Not rich, not completely broke, just financially occupied. Every dollar already assigned a purpose before it lands in the account. You've probably heard people talk about investing before. Maybe you even downloaded an app once, opened it, looked at charts and unfamiliar words, then quietly closed it again. Index funds, ETFs, expense ratios, dividend reinvestment. It all felt like a language designed for people who already understood money, and in many ways it was. But then one day you see a projection online. Someone shows what happens if you invest $500 every month for 30 years at an average market return. The final number is so large you read it twice, and suddenly something hits you. Not excitement, not motivation, something closer to regret. Because for the first time you realize time is the one thing nobody gets back. That realization changes everything. Because $500 a month doesn't sound life-changing at first. It's $6,000 a year. Less than what many people spend eating out. Less than yearly car payments for most Americans. Less than what households quietly spend on entertainment and subscriptions without thinking twice. The point isn't guilt. The point is understanding that money always gets assigned somewhere, either toward temporary comfort or toward future freedom. And the scary part is that the choice rarely feels important in the moment. It's just 1 month, one purchase, one skipped investment. But repeated over decades, those tiny decisions become completely different lives. So you decide to start. Not because you suddenly became a financial expert, not because you had the perfect plan. You start because you finally understand that waiting also has a cost. And unlike a bill, that cost stays invisible for years, so you automate it. $250 goes into a Roth IRA on the first of every month. Another $250 goes into a brokerage account halfway through the month. Now the system runs automatically. That matters more than motivation ever will. 3 months pass. Nothing dramatic happens. The market moves up a little, then down again. Your account balance barely looks different. And honestly, this is where most people quit. Not because they're lazy, because the human brain struggles to stay committed when progress is invisible. The money you invested has only turned into maybe $1,600. Meanwhile, the money you would have spent is already gone forever. And at this stage, the difference between those two choices still doesn't feel emotional enough to matter. But it does matter, more than you realize, because the account is working quietly in the background while your life keeps moving forward. You keep contributing. Even when friends plan expensive trips, even when sales pop up online, even when unexpected bills appear, you stop treating investing like an optional leftover decision. You treat it like rent, non-negotiable. And without realizing it, you make one of the most important financial decisions of your life. You continue. 1 year later, the account reaches around $6,400. Not enough to retire, not enough to impress anyone. But something more important has happened. You built a foundation, and foundations are never exciting while they're being built. You also notice something strange. $500 no longer feels impossible to live without. Your lifestyle adjusted. The fear you had in the beginning slowly disappeared. And that shift changes everything because most people increase spending every time income rises. But you did the opposite. You learned how to live slightly below your income. That skill becomes more valuable than the money itself. 3 years pass. Now the account sits above $20,000. For the first time, it starts feeling less like savings and more like momentum. The returns begin generating returns of their own. Money from year one compounds alongside money from year two and year three. This is what compound interest actually looks like in real life. Not a flashy chart, not a motivational quote, just numbers growing faster over time because you stayed consistent long enough for the math to finally matter. 5 years in, the account crosses roughly $42,000. You contributed about $30,000 personally. The market added the rest. That means thousands of dollars now exist that were never earned through labor. No overtime, no second job, no side hustle. Just consistency and time. And something else changes too. Your anxiety around money starts fading. Not because problems disappear, because experience teaches you that temporary market drops are normal. At one point, the market falls sharply, your balance drops fast, but you don't panic, you don't sell, you simply continue. And eventually, the market recovers like it always has over long enough periods. That lesson changes your mindset permanently. You realize successful investing isn't about being the smartest person in the room, it's about staying in the room longer than everyone else. 10 years later, the account passes $100,000. That number feels different psychologically. Below six figures, investing feels just automated investing into low-cost index funds month after month after month. 15 years in, the account approaches $200,000. You contributed less than half of it yourself. The rest came from growth. That's when you fully understand the real power of long-term investing. The beginning matters far more than perfection, because the hardest part was never choosing the perfect investment. The hardest part was continuing when the rewards were too small to feel exciting. 20 years pass. Now the curve starts bending upward aggressively. The account grows by tens of thousands in strong years, and by this point, financial panic no longer controls you. Recessions happen, markets crash, news headlines scream fear. But experience teaches you something most people never truly understand. Volatility is normal. Temporary declines are the price investors pay for long-term growth. And because you stayed invested long enough, fear no longer dictates your decisions. 30 years later, the account reaches nearly $600,000. You personally contributed around $180,000. The rest came from compounding, from patience, from one small decision repeated consistently for decades. And when you look back, it never felt dramatic while it was happening. It felt ordinary. A transfer leaving your account every month. A habit repeated quietly in the background of your life. But ordinary decisions repeated long enough become extraordinary outcomes. Somewhere right now, another 25-year-old is staring at an extra $500 in their bank account, and they think the decision in front of them is small. A weekend trip, a shopping purchase, a temporary experience. But the truth is, it's not a $500 decision, it's a decades-long decision. Because time turns small amounts into life-changing amounts, if you give it the chance. The market doesn't require perfection. It doesn't require confidence. It only rewards consistency. And the most important part is this: you do not need to feel ready to begin. The feeling of readiness comes later, after the habit already exists, after the system is already running, after time has already started compounding in your favor. The next 30 years will pass no matter what. The only question is what will be waiting for you when they do.